I think one of the most difficult things for modern audiences to get their heads around when it comes to the scriptures are these categories of clean and unclean. I think instinctively we just hear that as good and bad, right and wrong, evil and sinless. But that's not what's going on in the scriptures. That's not part of how the Jewish community thought about these terms. They were related to your ritual purity. They were more akin to what we would call sacred and secular rather than good and bad. And I think that's important for how we read some of the scriptures.
But I think for me, the center of this section is really this passage where Jesus talks about what goes in and what comes out of our lives. And the context here is that he's talking to a group of religious leaders. They're called the Pharisees. And they had this very strict practice of hand washing and implement cleansing before meals. And to be honest, that all sounds pretty good to me. As parents of young children, we have put a lot of energy into trying to convince our kids to properly wash anything before they put it in their mouths. Between 2 kids and a golden retriever, I'm convinced that all of our worldly possessions have been in someone's mouth at some point this week. But this ritual was actually a lot more than that, because it was based on commands in the Hebrew scriptures that demanded that the priests do these type of things before eating. And so the Pharisees, as a more populist, grassroots revival movement, said to themselves, well, if it's good for them, then it should be good for us too, no? Remember, the Pharisees were not part of the priestly order themselves. And their thought was that maybe part of the problem is we have left our spiritual care in the hands of professionals a little too much. And maybe we would be better if we held some of that for ourselves. And honestly, that's a perspective I can get behind. So I don't think what Jesus is upset with here is the Pharisees' intent. Rituals are good for us. They ground us. They give us some stability in a world that can sometimes feel very unstable. No, I think what Jesus is concerned with here is whether those rituals are working to shape us well. This is what he actually says to them. He says, nothing outside a person can defile them by going in. Rather, it is what comes out of you that matters. In other words, I think we should be careful about what we consume, and we should think about what we give our attention to, and we should be thoughtful about the rituals that we participate in. But at the end of the day, what God cares about most is not that you follow all the rules, it's who you become over time. How you learn to treat the people near you, the love that flows out of you steadily always. And so Jesus says, nothing that goes into you, nothing anyone does to you, nothing anyone could ever say to you, no circumstance in your life, none of this could ever diminish you in the eyes of God. But how you choose to live and how you choose to treat people, how you move through the world in the choices that you make, that can, if you let it, make you very, very ordinary. Because that's the thing. This word defilement, that's what it means. I know it sounds very big and scary and grandiose, but at the end of the day, all this word koinoi meant was common. So think mundane or not special, the opposite of everything that is set apart and sacred. That's what defilement means. It doesn't mean evil, it means normal. And I think that's a really interesting way to think about our lives. It's easy to be selfish. It's normal to be consumed with greed. In fact, that's the default road that all of us are discipled on every single day when we open our phones and spend our time on social media. Buy more is not an exceptional way to live. But if we look for it, and if we're willing to search it out, there is a path off to the side, sometimes hidden in the weeds, that offers us something unique. And if ritual helps to put you on that path, then it's good. And if religion guides you in that way, then it's beneficial. If being part of a church community like this helps you become more kind, more generous, more trustworthy, more truthful, then hold on to that however you can. But know that nothing outside of you will ever contribute or diminish your standing in the eyes of God. That comes down to how you choose to live. Now, the good news, the gospel, if you will, is that we can always start again, even today.
Hey, thanks for watching through. If you are intrigued by the work that we're doing here at Commons, then by all means, give us a like, throw a comment down below, and subscribe here so you can stay up to date on all of the content that we're posting here on YouTube. We'd also love to invite you to join our Discord. You can do that in the link down below. There's all kinds of conversations that we're inviting in and through the community as we do our best to follow Jesus together. Of course, you can find more about Commons at commons.church and following @Commons Church on all the socials. Thanks for being here.